Earlier this month, a legal case brought against the IRS finally got its day in court, and it could have some major implications down the road for countless conservative organizations. So what is the issue in this case? Well, here now to share more about it is Chris Gober. He's the founding partner and CEO at Lex Politica, who represents the organization in this case. Chris, welcome to Washington Watch. Great to see you.
Hey, Jody. How are you? Been too long.
It has been too long. I know a lot of our viewers and listeners will not know this, but you and I have a history together ourselves. When I had to go before Fannie Willis's grand jury, you were there defending me and did an excellent job then, as you have done with so many, and you continue your outstanding work, and it's an honor to have you today.
Yeah, well, great. It's great to see you. Great to see you here. So, not in Fulton County courthouses and sham litigation. So,
hey, listen, you got that right. Underscore.
But they say, habits die hard. So, can I bill you for this here?
I'm not going to answer that one. All right, now. Listen, let's begin this because this is an important case you're working on now. Let's start, kind of jog our memory, if you would, Chris, on the 2014 IRS Lois Lerner scandal. Of course, she was then the director of the IRS's exempt organizations unit. Fill us in a little bit of that. Yeah,
so this case really goes back, you got to look all the way back to 2010. In 2011. We founded a group called Freedom Path, a 501c4 issue advocacy organization that sought its tax-exempt status with the IRS back in 2011. And then after years of delay of just waiting for the IRS to do something with this application, we suddenly get a letter in the mail that says, we want to know more. Please send us a list of all of your donors, and all of this really irrelevant information, regarding the tax exempt status. So something was fishy there. Well, it wasn't long after that the whole Lois Lerner scandal broke, and we realized that this organization, Freedom Path, had been kind of targeted by Lois Lerner and her cronies because they had freedom in the name. If you recall, any group with Tea Party in the name, freedom in the name, anything, I guess, sounding, too American for them, they would, target and hold. So this really dates back to that period of time. We filed a lawsuit against them in 2014 that has seen various courts. And now, 11 years later, we actually have the most substantive hearing we've had in this case since that time.
Wow. All right, so we've got the facts and circumstances test and how it was used to weaponize the IRS against conservatives. Mm-hmm. Explain that to us.
Yeah, so the IRS uses a test. This is not even a statutory test that originated with Congress. Rather, it's kind of through interpretation and rulemaking through the IRS, and it's been in existence for decades. But the IRS uses this so-called facts and circumstances test, which is a 11-factor test of a bunch of highly subjective factors that they frankly say they can weight it differently from one communication to the next, or actually even take into consideration other factors that aren't a part of the list. But this is the test that importantly determines, is a group engaged in issue advocacy of the type that's in furtherance of its tax-exempt status, or is it engaged in some kind of political campaign intervention that could jeopardize that tax-exempt status? And so what happens in practice with this really vague and subjective test is, if you have an IRS agent that's sitting there and they're looking at a particular organization and judging its communications and its expenditures, the fact of the matter is that IRS agent can come to whatever conclusion they so desire, because the test is so subjective in nature that it's basically, you can just use the test to find whatever conclusion you want to get to. And that's what allows the IRS to really engage in a lot of these abuses, because they don't have to stick to an objective standard that everybody on both sides understands. They can kind of hide behind the vagueness of it. And that's where we see so many conservative organizations getting targeted unfairly by a bunch of government bureaucrats.
Okay, so we've got about a minute and a half left here. In the midst of all that vagueness, Chris Gober, what are you asking the courts to do? What are you hoping to come out with?
Yeah. What we're wanting is the facts and circumstances test to be struck down as unconstitutional. We want there to be new rules in place that the IRS has to use to determine, what is political campaign intervention? What is issue advocacy? In effect, we're asking the IRS to do what the United States Supreme Court has already told the Federal Election Commission to do. Because the Federal Election Commission used to have a very similar test that was the result of the McCain-Feingold bill back in 2001. That test got struck down as unconstitutional by the United States Supreme Court. And basically, the IRS kind of continues to run their very kind of analogous test. So we want the court to do the same. We want to create, new rules to be drafted to make sure that conservative organizations can't be unfairly targeted in the future.
Well, Chris Gober, CEO of Lex Politica, I want to thank you so much again. Let me just say it for the outstanding work you've done and you continue to do. This has got to come to a stop. IRS targeting of conservative organizations, and thank you right now for leading that charge. We're certainly going to be keeping a close watch on this. Thank you for joining us on Washington Watch.
All right, thanks, Jody.